So aiming to meet on the last Thursday of the month, but we have, July's a holiday month. And so we are going to move the meeting to Friday, July 21st. And Vicki will make sure to provide us with the logistics in terms of timing and location, which will be here for that meeting. Public comments. For those of you that are present today, if you would like to make public comment on any specific agenda items, please sign up at the back of the room, and staff will bring that forward to us so we can address them in those agenda items. And then if you have just general public comment, we will take that at the end of the meeting. I'd also ask that you sign up so that we can keep that orderly. And for those participating virtually, you may provide public comment, but you must do that by 5 p.m. on the day before the meeting. You can do that by emailing hotline@utah.gov. Please make sure that you include your name, the city, topic, and affiliation. Vicki, do we have any public comment provided virtually for this meeting? Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, let's just jump into the agenda. Sean, we'd love to hear the financial update. We're getting very close to the end of the fiscal year, and it will be interesting to see how those numbers are coming in.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. For April 2023, retail revenue at DABS liquor stores was $41.6 million, or about $964,000 higher than the same month last year, which is about a 2.4% increase month over month. Now, year over year, so far this year, $487 million, as opposed to last year's $467 million. So 19.6 million higher, or about a 4.2% increase. That's interesting, as bottle sales for April, both years, just over $3 million. Last year's was only about 1,500 bottles or cans higher than this April. So it's really close between the 2 years. After all operating expenses, which were $4.9 million for April, 68 million year to date, we plan on returning about $97 million to the state's general fund at the fiscal year end in the form of the liquor profit transfer, which helps pay for other programs, reducing income taxes and other assistance programs. Are there any questions on those financials?
Thanks, Sean. Any questions of the commission? Commissioner Parrish, I know that you keep an eye on this with Commissioners Randall and Terrazon in the operations subcommittee. Was there anything of note that you'd like to share?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The operations committee met, and we review all the internal operations and programs. We're very pleased with the operations and the way that they're running. There's one thing that I wanted to point out that I think is significant. For a number of years, we've been concerned about the high employee turnover rate at DABS, then DABC. And so thanks to the help of leadership of the commission and others, they prevailed upon the legislature to look realistically at the salaries and the wages that we're paying and our employment processes. In 2021, our unemployment, or our turnover rate, was 123%. In 2022, it was 90% and trending down. I think that's very significant. It's very expensive to train new employees, and it also creates a lot of chaos within the department. And this has been a trend and a very good trend in the right direction, and I think stabilized the commission somewhat.
Thank you, Commissioner Parrish. That was really good context to back up the finances. Any other questions or comments? Excellent. Well, thanks, as Commissioner Parrish has pointed out, for just the excellent work you all are doing on the operations side. And Sean, to you for always providing us with this amount of information. I know that we ask for it in a certain way and it takes some time to kind of put things together, and we just appreciate your reporting. So thank you. Next agenda item is our Parents Empowered update. We'll turn the time over to Doug Murakami. It's always important to be thinking about this, but as I'm thinking about, graduations going on, I'm certainly from kind of the parent standpoint, really thinking about being empowered about what the work you do. So please share.
Thank you, Chair. And you're absolutely right. Summertime is an important time, right? Kids have some extra time on their hands. So yeah, good time to make sure you know what they're up to. So anyhow, a lot is going on with our Parents Empowered campaign. We have 6 remaining community partnership projects and or CPPs for short. And as you know, these CPPs allow us to get into the local communities and do customized underage drinking prevention messages in the local community to help reach that local culture. So we're happy about that. We've got 6 more to complete before the fiscal year end. A couple of them I wanted to mention. First of all, Tooele's CPP is launching this weekend out at the Utah Motorsports Campus. And it's in conjunction with a sanctioned go-kart race event out there. And Peter Clegg, who is the prevention coordinator, he's also the statewide prevention network chair this year over all of the prevention coordinators in the state. He's come up with some pretty unique partnerships in Tooele. He's kind of teamed up. His theme is the motor, automotive industry. And so he's teamed up with dealerships and car parts stores and repair shops. We've produced some air fresheners with messaging on them about underage drinking prevention and the little paper mats that they put down when they work on your car. So it's kind of a fun campaign, kind of unique. And so we're happy about that. Also, on June 8th, Wasatch County has partnered with the Heber Valley Railroad. And they're going to launch. We've got fun messaging up there. It's in the rail cars. It's out around the station, and we've produced a mountain safari scavenger hunt for families to partake in and win prizes and things like that. Should be a great event up there. If you get a chance to get the kids up there, try to do it. They're having a Locals Day, June 9th and 11th through 11th, and then a Kids Day, June 16th through 18th. So we're excited about the fun messaging that we have up there. Also, just shifting to our Parents Empowered research, we conducted these online community parent focus group research, and that research is completed. We're going to get the report of the findings on that tomorrow. And then also we do a biannual parent survey, which is a 600 person survey that we do twice a year. That is in the field currently. We're going to have that information or a report at the end of June. So in addition to, the ability to help us measure and evaluate our campaign, the research is very important to us. We also use it to help guide our campaign for our upcoming new creative strategies. So we get kind of an insight of how parents are feeling. Are they recognizing our campaign? What resonates with them, what doesn't? So good bit of research, and I'll share that at the next commission meeting if that works. So that's about all I have. Thank you for your support as always, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions or comments of the commission? All right, well, thank you. And we'll look forward to seeing the additional data. And of course, we'll turn you free to do your work. Thank you very much. Right, next we have an operations update. I'll turn the time over to Director Clayson and Deputy Director Meyer.
Great. Commissioners, as Chair Tenner mentioned, the meeting next month, as you all know, will be in Logan, Utah. Really excited about supporting you all for what will be a great second off the Wasatch Front meeting. Just to update you quickly, in addition to the meeting itself, which will be at Utah State University from 10 a.m. to 11:30, there will also be a hybrid option, right? So folks that can't make it to Logan can still join us. We have it planned as a part of the agenda for you all to visit our Logan retail store there. So you can visit with the manager and staff there and hear a bit about their operations, how they work to not only support the general public there, but also our hospitality partners. We also have arranged for a meet and greet prior to the meeting for you all to get to visit with our hospitality partners in that area of the state, restaurateurs, hotel owners, bar owners, et cetera, to hear about the really, cool and exciting stuff that is going on there in that part of the state, and also to hear about potentially some of their unique challenges and what it's like to be a hospitality partner in Northern Utah. So we're really excited about that. If you have any questions in the next couple of weeks, please don't hesitate to reach out to staff. The other update that I have for you, as you know, Commissioner Orton has served as co-chair with me for our EDIA, EDIA work group. The governor's office has asked that all state agencies make sure that they have a strategic plan in place by the end of this fiscal year or at the beginning of the next fiscal year, which, as you know, we published our first ever multi-year strategic plan last year. As a part of the work group and the work that has come out of that, we have some goals and objectives that have been creative that we're going to include as an updated version of our strategic plan. So this is something that many of you know has been a focus of the governor to make sure that all of our state agencies, and of course in this aspect, the DABS, that we're serving all Utahns in all aspects of our operation. So I just wanted to provide you with this update when we have the deliverable and the final product of our updated strategic plan, we'll make sure that you all have a copy. But really excited about this and a great opportunity to thank Commissioner Orton and many of the volunteer employees that we have across all of our various divisions and teams that provide perspectives and feedback and input so we can make sure that we're focusing on the right things internally and externally as it relates to EDIA. I know Kate, our Deputy Director, has a couple of updates as well.
Thank you, Director Clayson. Just wanted to bring to the Commission's attention, we're preparing to launch our online licensing and permitting system. So this is for all licensees and applicants going forward. So no longer will be the paperwork application. This will be done online. However, we have a little bit of a transition period. So during this period for next month, everything will be just as normal. So it'll still be under the old system as we move forward. But wanted to mention we're mailing out postcards, directing all licensees to notify them of the upcoming service and directing them to our website where we introduce the new system. We're also we're going to be hosting 2 virtual demonstrations where people can join online and see kind of how this works and what will be some of the changes going forward. And then a major step on July 5th will be an opportunity for licensees to go in and create an account in the system, which we'll be asking everyone to do. So just kind of want to make sure that you're aware as we transition here. We ask for a little bit of patience, but we don't anticipate any problems going forward. Just excited to finally get to this point with our new system. So there's been a lot of hard work done by staff and by so many that we're just grateful for the efforts of our support partners in this as well. They've really demonstrated some great leadership there. So grateful for those involved. And then I wanted to cover one item that you'll be asked to take action on in the consent agenda, which is for Adrian Zamora, who will be moved from his current position of warehouse manager to a director position over our distribution center. And so Adrian, just so you are aware, Adrian's worked for us, and I know you've gotten some documentation on this, but he's worked for us and is here today to answer any questions you might have as well. But he's worked for the DABS for the past 7.5 years as the shipping manager. And for the past 6 months, he's been acting as our warehouse manager. So we're very grateful for him. He's got a vast experience with over 20 years in operations. And he has a great rapport with our warehouse staff. He's been leading and improving our operations there for some time. So we're grateful for that. Adrian comes to us with a bachelor's degree in business, and we are pleased to present him to you for your consideration today for this new position. And those are my updates today.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to both of you. Are there any questions of the commission for the director, the deputy director? There's just excellent updates, and we'll even look forward to, giving it, I would great when you actually launch. I want to hear more about that next month, and it's exciting. And as someone who just cannot stand the thought of filling out paperwork, it's just a wonderful day for DABS. I think that since we're on operations, if you wouldn't mind, Adrian, if you wouldn't mind just coming to the podium for 1 minute so we can recognize you. All right. Well, I mean, I think we all, yeah. I think we all know Adrian. And so I just wanted to give the commissioners the opportunity to ask any questions you have of him. But really, I just wanted to say congratulations on like the, well-deserved title change. And we just truly, truly appreciate all you do. The last time I was in the warehouse was in February or March, and how you keep it all together, I have no idea. The size of that operation and the product that's coming in and out and all the coordination that needs to take place is quite the feat. So thank you very much for all you do. And, obviously, I feel that this work is in very good hands with you. So thank you. Are there any questions of the commission? All right. All right. Well, thank you. We'll get back to work. Take care. All right. I think we'll just handle on the consent agenda. All right. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we need to handle violations. We have a consent calendar that our AG Sam McHenry will brief us on. So I'll turn the time over to you, Sam.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Items 1 through 15 on the consent calendar are complete with settlement agreements in place, ready for agency action. All of them are first-time violations in the last 36 months, and none of them involved a grave violation.
Thank you, Sam. Commissioner Orton, as chair of the compliance subcommittee with Commissioners Toohey and Commissioner Jacobson, I understand that you vetted this list in great detail. Do you have a recommendation?
We did have a recommendation from our subcommittee, and we wanted to recommend that we accept the settlement agreements for numbers 1 through 15. And then we wanted to hear from Highlander Pub.
All right, that makes sense. So why don't we go ahead and, unless there's any additional questions or concerns, go ahead and look. Okay, so let's look for a motion then.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? All right, those settlements, items numbers 1 through 15 are approved. So next we have under consideration a settlement agreement for Highlander Pub. Sam, can you share on this one, please?
Yes, Commissioners, this involved a covert operation at the Highlander Pub, and the settlement agreement we proposed related to a grave offense or a grave violation of sale to an intoxicated or impaired person and failure to scan. We were able to reach an agreement, a $4,000 fine and a 20-day suspension on the sale to the intoxicated person, and a $1,000 fine on the failure to scan, plus costs. The total amount is $53,7377 and a 20-day suspension. And my understanding is the owner and his attorney is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. I would appreciate if we could have representatives from Highlander come to the podium, and I will just go ahead and ask Commissioner Orton to share with us some of the concerns that were coming out of the compliance subcommittee, and then we will need to get some information from you all. Commissioner.
First of all, could you each give your name for the record?
Lane Peterson. Gabby Gunderson. Heather Angel.
Tanner Leonard, counsel for licensing.
Great. And I think our subcommittee, just in an effort to better understand what you are doing to kind of change things, maybe change the culture a little bit so that these sorts of things don't happen again. We looked over the RASP and I was just wondering what the process was that you used to develop the new RASP.
So what we've done is we've actually implemented 3 different forms of scanning options. So if one doesn't work, we've also added door staff to every single night of the week. So we have someone constantly watching the door. We've also added extra staff onto every shift to look for those extra signs of intoxication so that we have the ability to be more aware.
And are these changes different from your prior RASP? It was a little confusing because I was trying to understand when I looked at your prior RASP and the RASP that you just submitted, the prior RASP seemed more complete. And so I just wondered what the improvements were that you had made, internally. And I mean, the RASP is your outward, it's your outward facing plan to tell us what sorts of changes you're going to make that will make it less likely that you'll have to deal with these sorts of incidences again. And when I looked at the prior RASP and the current RASP, I couldn't find the improvements, I guess.
I'd like to speak to that one. And the new RASP is one that addresses specifically the issues that were at issue during these violations. This isn't so much of a new RASP as I'd like to think of as an addition. So it's not like the old one's going away. That's processes and procedures. These are more additions, as you can see from the additional scanning, the additional timing, the additional watching, those things that were not present. So not out with the old and with the new, but more of an additional measures that are being taken. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
Yeah, and have the employees been involved? Do you have employee buy-in so that you feel confident that employees will be implementing these changes or improvements?
Yes, yeah, we had a meeting with UADBC and we had all of the staff involved and we went over every single thing that we could think of that could be a gray area or one of us was confused on. So we have all gone through that and, we really struggled with staffing during the pandemic. We've really extra staffed as much as we can with like good employees that understand the laws and yeah.
Great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I also looking at your RASP, I understand what you're saying, that it should be read as an addendum. I would appreciate it maybe if you could resubmit that to staff saying clearly that it is an addendum, because it doesn't say that anywhere. It says this is your plan.
Certainly, I'll update that to Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just need to make sure this is a grave violation. I need to make sure that you all understand what we can do in a grave violation. We can revoke the license in a grave violation. So we'll hear if there's a motion on approving the settlement, but I think we're likely ready to do that. However, if you appear before us again with a grave violation, I personally will have no hesitation in moving up towards that maximum. So I just want to make sure that you understand. Okay, thank you.
And with that, I think we're ready to make a motion to approve your settlement agreement.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I didn't really give the commission opportunity to ask any additional questions, so feel free in this discussion to ask if you have any. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, I rule that that settlement agreement has been approved. Thank you. All right, we have an order to show cause that we need to handle. Sam, can you share the details on this one with us, please?
Yes, Commission Chair, this is a holdover from last month. This is order to show cause against Button Up Holdings LLC, DBA Echo Event Center, case number 2023-241-M. the department became aware that neither the licensed entities nor its members currently hold a lease agreement on the premises or proof that the location is owned by a licensed entity or its members. This dates back to a lease that was presented to us, and this occurred on October 1 of 2022. Notice was given pursuant to the statute, 10 business days certified mail. Understand all the parties received notice.
Great. Thank you, Sam. I understand that this can just be deemed forfeit. It does not need any action of the committee, of the commission, but I would like to allow the members to ask any questions of Sam or the owners, if you have any. Are there any questions? Okay. Well, and I don't see, do we have, oh, sure. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Morning, Madam Chair,
All
members of
right.
the commission.
Thank you very much. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
My name is Mark Shirtliff. I'm an attorney representing Button Up Holdings LLC, DBA Echo Event Center. We appreciate that opportunity. How much time do we have? We have just the 3 minutes on this?
Yes, please. Mhm.
I'll be quick. In 2018, Mr. Ross Easthope started a club downtown at this location. It was called Button Up. There was a Button Up bar and a Button Down. They were connected to each other. They both were under that lease. Some of you may remember, I remember Commissioner Parrish was on the commission. I don't know if, yeah, Commissioner Horton was too, and we were having some issues and in litigation with Button Up or with Button Down folks. Finally, that was all cleared up. Button Down went away. Mr. Easthope, when he formed the company in 2018, he then later brought in a partner, Mr. Doug Kessler. They signed an operating agreement. The ownership was, or is currently 49%, Mr. Easthope, 49%, Mr. Kessler, and then 2%, a gentleman named Mo Salih. That is the ownership of it. Well, as time went by with COVID, they actually survived COVID, and a number of restaurants and bars didn't, started to thrive again. And one of the people they were working with named Rob Joseph came in and started trying behind Mr. Easthope's back to push him out of the company without knowledge to him. He became very busy raising two of his 4 grandchildren, including one of them who's been diagnosed with leukemia. So he wasn't able to spend as much time. He did try to go to the bar and was continually told he couldn't enter. We actually brought witnesses to testify about him not being allowed to come in, so we didn't know what was going on. In February of last year, Jeff Buckner, Assistant Attorney General, sent a notice of agency action for a number of violations at Echo. By the name, the name changed from Button Up to Echo after this litigation we were involved in. And I worked with Mr. Buckner for several months, providing the settlement agreement. I met with Mr. Kessler and Mr. Easthope, the owners, majority owners of the bar, and worked out a settlement agreement, which they agreed to. When I told Mr. Buckner we agreed to it, then a few days later, he said, I don't know what's going on. We have this Rob Joseph coming in with an attorney saying he owns it and Mr. Easthope doesn't. What's going on here? So there was all this effort to completely push Mr. Easthope out. He was unaware of it. So I sent all that documentation to Mr. Buckner, and then we didn't hear anything for quite some time. We understood it went to a month-to-month lease with the owners of the building, and Mr. Easthope was never told that the lease had changed, that he was never notified of it. The operating agreement of the company, I think we provided copies to DBS at some point of these ownership records. We certainly haven't, they were, okay, that showed that that Mr. Joseph, who, by the way, tragically took his own life last year. So it's just these parties involved. No member can make anything like a lease, enter any lease, put obligations on the DBA, the holding company, without permission or without a majority vote. There was never such vote. In fact, there were some documents manufactured, I understand, from Mr. Buckner that were false, that were not certified with the state, showed this ownership changed. It's never been changed. We didn't even know about this current OSC, except I received, gratefully, a copy of the OSC. So I'm here to explain that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shirtliff. So we're good context. So thank you for providing with us with all of this context. this OSC is around the premises and whether or not the Button Up Holdings has a premise right now. So we've been told by our attorney that there's not been a lease for this premise, or there's been no premise since October 1st, 2022. Are you contesting that?
But we're asking you some time, and maybe even rather than this termination or this is to do a suspension for this reason. The operating agreement also says that Mr. Kessler or any member cannot sell anybody's shares to a new company or new entity without first offering it to the other. So we understand Mr. Kessler, from what we understand, sold it to the gentlemen who were here today on the Gem nightclub application further down the road, and they were here last time. Didn't know that they'd done that. So there was no authority to do what they did, and we just need some time to be able to work that out.
So, but do you have information on the premise? So outside of these other issues, I think this OSC is about not having a premise essentially since October 1, 2022. And I'm going to ask our attorney to clarify that just to make sure I'm stating this correctly.
And Mr. Shurtleff, or do you have an objection to the order to show cause that says that?
We do. I knew when we were talking, saying, look, he's been pushed out, but he still is the owner, and he hasn't been paid in a couple of years. We're talking about that premise. The problem is that lease should not have been entered into without a vote of the.
My understanding is there is no lease, though.
No, it is with this new company that's here with the new application today. This Gem.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. And
That's correct. There is a new lease, but it has nothing to do with the licensee. Nothing to do with Button Up Holdings Echo Event Center. It's a new entity.
okay, yeah.
That's the way, Madam Chair, that they had orchestrated to move him out. And so he's lost out on all this and had no ability to. So if it's a suspension or given additional time, that gives Mr. Easthope some time with Mo, who together they own a majority of the shares, and actually all of them, because operating agreement says that Mr. Kessler had to have offered those shares to Mr. Easthope and not to this gentleman Darren Bruner, who was here on the other club and who was in that space and has been operating in that space under this new name called Gem. So that's what we're requesting today on the order to show cause. I apologize, I wasn't clear to begin with.
No, okay, thank you. Are there any, and I know this is public comment, but technically we are also talking to you as a representative of the entity that we're deliberating on. Are there any questions of the commission? And I think I'll
Chair, I have
go ahead.
one.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner.
How much time are you requesting?
30 days, I think, would be sufficient to be able to go then speak to the landlords and bring our evidence to show that this never could have been entered into in the first place. Maybe even work out some agreement on with Gem or Mr. Bruner or somebody to try and figure this out so that license isn't lost.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tui.
My question is there currently an operation with a bar license operating with the Echo Event Center?
Yes, there is. That's this Gem nightclub. They came before with this change of ownership. And I appeared last month and said, they don't have authority to do that. They can't change ownership. So they came back, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, so that my question is to sort of tee this up. As this commission, we are concerned with the safe and legal operation of a business. You do not have a licensed premise to operate a bar. And so I think the evidence before us is clear that we don't have a choice here other than to deem the license forfeited. I think we would love to offer you more time to sort out the legal issues with your business. But I see our role as a commission to follow the law explicitly. We don't have any leeway to make an exception. And so, Madam Chair, those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would love that. I would love the
Yeah.
authority to make an exception, but talk to your legislator, not your commissioner.
I understand they've been operating for several months without knowing it, without a license.
Which is
We're as concerned.
concerning, yeah, which is incredibly concerning. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to let you know, yesterday, near the close of business, Mohammed Salih, who is a minority owner, 2%, agreed to not contest the order to show cause.
Thank
And
you.
I believe Jeremy has more information.
So, yes. It's interesting to hear myself. to put your mind at ease, commissioners, about the operation, the current operation of what's been going on in this particular location. There has been an interim management agreement in place. So there's nothing, the operation has been legit based upon the interim management agreement and the change of ownership application. So I wanted to be clear about that. Commissioner Tui, you sort of had a question about
Yeah,
that.
well, maybe I could ask you then. So in the interim management agreement, is there any stipulation about the premises and operation using an expired lease?
No, let's see, let's go back a few steps if
Sure.
that's okay.
Please.
Just for clarity. The purchasers, let's say, they acquired the lease agreement with the leasing company that holds the building, right? On October 2nd, I think, of this last year. In that period of time, they entered a purchase agreement with Echo Button-Up Holdings. And in that change of ownership application, there is an interim management agreement that allowed them to operate using the existing license. Whilst the alcohol, let's see, the revenue from the alcohol goes to the current holder, the entity that holds the license, which was Button-Up Holdings, whilst they are operating the business. It gets a little bit, interim management agreements are a little bit wonky, but that's what was holding the license there.
I think, again, just to be just really clear, this OSC is about the premises and about the lease. And so I just want to make sure that, the commission understands what we're talking about on this particular OSC, and all this other information is incredibly relevant for some of the other things we need to consider. So I'm glad that we're talking through it. Thank you.
So
But
whilst
again,
their lease agreement, Button-Up Holdings had a month-to-month lease agreement as indicated by representation here. It turns out that the landlord decided not to continue that month-to-month, and then they went with a different lease.
thank you. And Aaron, I hate to just put you on the spot, but just to be, again, abundantly clear on some of the details and what we're considering, can you share with us any discussion or contact that you've had with Button-Up over this OSC and serving notice of it?
The OSC went out on May 17th to echo the physical address where the license premise was. I copied it to Matthew Lewis, Doug Kessler's attorney, as well as Mark Shurtleff, Ross East Hope's attorney. Doug came into the office on May 25th and personally picked up the OSC and signed for it. He also said he wasn't disputing it. We have a tracking, a USPS tracking that it shows that it was delivered to the premise, and that's the information that I have on.
Thank you, Aaron. Go ahead, Commissioner Martin.
I just wanted to say that I'm sympathetic on the operations agreement issue. But I think that's a civil issue that's going to have to be, I don't think we can answer it. I think that because I was listening very intently thinking, wait, but in the end, our interests here are resolved. And I think the concerns that you have are civil matter, so.
We don't disagree. We just thought we would try and come to the commission, completely understand the ruling. I did have a couple conversations with Assistant Attorney General McHenry. And we just wanted to be heard on this and make you aware of what's going on, particularly because this gym is in here for a new license application today.
Thank you. We appreciate the context and going on the record. Thank you. Well, there's no action to take. The license is deemed forfeit given the premise issues. We'll just go ahead and move on to the next item.
Chair, if I may, just one quick thing. If that is the decision and the action that takes place, that the alcohol that is currently on site will need to be removed from that site under the license and returned. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for making that point. And we'll just, from the commission standpoint, we'll just lean on the department to make sure that the laws followed in the wrapping up. Thank you. Okay. So moving on to our next agenda item, we've got some licensee recognitions. Director Clayson.
Great. Hopefully a little sunshine. Figuratively, after talking about violations and some other unsavory things. We have 88 licensees listed for April that have passed their SBI public safety inspection. So in reviewing this list, it's in all of your packets. It's also reflected here up on the screens. We have folks all the way from Cedar City, St. George, to Lehigh, Midvale, of course, Salt Lake City. And again, I think this is just a great opportunity to recognize folks across the hospitality industry that are really paying attention to safety, really paying attention to operations, and making sure that they have good operations in place to help ensure the public safety, especially as it relates to making sure that minors are not being served. And so I'm happy to I guess celebrate and recognize these licensees today, and hope you'll take a minute to look over this list. And if any are in your neck of the woods, next time you may run across them, or maybe you patron one of these establishments, thank them for having good and safe operations.
Thank you, Director Clayson, and thank you to all of those licensees that are putting in that effort to operate as safely as possible and within the constraints of the law. Are there any questions or comments of the commission on this? All right, we'll look forward to that list getting longer and longer and the other lists getting shorter and shorter. I'll take chair's prerogative just because there was a little bit of discussion here behind the desk about why the issue that we just dealt with was not voted upon, that, we just let that license be deemed forfeit. Sam, can you just explain kind of the process for that?
Yes, Commissioner, why we decided on a forfeiture is there was no objection to the order to show cause, in that no one presented anything that said that this licensee, Button Up Holdings Echo Event Center, currently had a space that was under lease.
Thank you for clarifying. I know there was just a couple of questions behind, and I just wanted to go on the record with that. I appreciate that. Okay, next agenda item is item number 9. We are implementing a consent agenda, and those familiar with a consent agenda know that items that are non-controversial and routine go on a consent agenda with all of the backup material provided to the commission ahead of time, so they can do their due diligence and research and study and work with staff on any questions that they may have, but that we are able to, because of that background prepping, we are able to consider the items with one motion. Any commissioner has the complete right to ask that we remove items from this consent agenda to be considered separately. And so please know that if you have any items that you'd like to be removed, you can go ahead and ask for that. But I think that this will help us spend a little more time on some of the issues that do require more of our attention. And with that, I will turn the time over to Deputy Director Meyer, who has been filling many shoes for the last month or so. We're excited that we will have a new compliance director hopefully in place very shortly. But in the meantime, that means that Deputy Director Meyer has definitely been pulling double duty. So I will, in your other role, I'll turn the time over to you to present the consent agenda to us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity, and it has been my honor and privilege. I've learned so much, and so it's been great. I really appreciate the opportunity. Staff has been amazing. Okay, so to just kind of sum up exactly what you said, I want to make it very clear so that it's on the record. As the interim division director for compliance and licensing, I am presenting the license applicant's consent agenda. In this consent agenda, we will include the prior meetings minutes, the DABS management appointments, similar to what we just did with, I gave you some information about Adrian, so that's included in this, and some, but not all license applications. So the license applications that comprise the consent agenda are the following license types: liquor transport, off-premise beer retailer, on-premise beer recreational amenity, hospitality amenity, hotel applicant, manufacturer, brewery applicant, limited service restaurant, beer-only restaurant applicants, banquet catering applicants, on-premise tavern applicants. So it doesn't include full-service restaurant applicants. It doesn't include bar applicants. It's just those that I mentioned. This is because those license types have license scarcity, and given the likely need for additional discussion amongst yourselves and the applicants that you may want to, be heard at that time the action is ready to go. It's important to note that all applications for your approval on the consent agenda have been processed, vetted, and found to have met all statutory requirements. You, as a commission, have the preparation materials on their businesses and our requirements for them, and have reviewed them and had an opportunity to ask staff questions about them in your subcommittee meetings. However, I want to mention this, that we're here to answer any questions you might have at this time of these applications on the consent agenda. And if there's any questions at all, we're happy to try to address them. But the chair obviously will be looking for a motion to approve them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you again to all of the work that the staff puts into everything on this agenda. But I know that this little change took, some additional work, and we appreciate that just to get us prepared to take action. So thank you. I'd be looking for a motion if there aren't any.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Parrish. All right, we have a motion before us as it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? All right, thank you. That consent agenda has been approved. Let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 10. I got that right. Okay, license applications. Let's go ahead and start with bar establishment applicants. Rob, I think you're presenting this to us. We have a couple of chunks here, and I'd like to deal with them individually. So we have change of ownership. We have 4 under the change of ownership. We have 6 under ready to operate, and we have 9 under all other applicants. And so, like I said, I would like to deal with each of those separately. Let's see if I can find my little sticky note on data. It's going to just mention, oh, here we go. I was just going to mention that I was looking at numbers this morning. So I probably have mentioned before that I'm an economist and I love numbers and I love data. So as I was being anxious about this meeting, I decided to look at numbers to help calm me. And then I wasn't calmed. So per the quota that's currently in place in statute, with projected population numbers that are coming out of the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget and the Kemsey Gardner Policy Institute, which lead the Utah Economic Council. So the quota will yield over the next 13 months an additional 7 licenses. So we've got 6 ready to operate. Okay. 9 other applicants. So just kind of thinking through what those numbers look like, it was just an interesting data point for me. Now we are in a position, gratefully, that the legislature has put forward some money to study this quota issue, and also has granted an additional one-time bump of 15 licenses. So that helps, but it's basically a Band-Aid. Just wanted you to have those numbers in front of you as we make these considerations today. With the way the number, and as I've mentioned, I was talking about the quota moving forward with forward population projections and an additional 6 in fiscal year 24. Today, we currently do, because of that legislative action, have 18 because of the one that was just deemed forfeit, 18 licenses available. And so with that, Rob, go ahead and let's go through the change of ownership first, please.
Good morning, commissioners. We have 4 changes of ownership. None of them are conditional any longer. Because these changes of ownerships will be effective today, they will need to renew these licenses by 5 o'clock today. So we have Caneo, Bar 319, Bout Time Bluffdale, and Bout Time Sandy. These applications are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Rob. I know that the subcommittees spent some time on all of these things. are there any questions of Rob at this time on these changes of ownership? Right. Commissioner Orton, can you give us the recommendation of the subcommittee and also a motion, please?
Yeah, we recommend that we approve all of the license changes of ownership. And with that, I would move that we accept them.
Thank you. Those changes, the change of ownership for those licenses has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Right. Those changes of ownership are approved. Next, we have 6 that are ready to operate. And actually, I might, Rob, before we hear from you, I shouldn't know I was doing this, but Commissioner Tui, can you go over the criteria that we as a commission have in place to consider on the consideration of ready to operate? Given that we are in such a place of scarcity, we need to be sure that these licenses are being put into use, because if they're not put into use, the current law basically says that they can be awarded conditionally, but then there's 18 months until the license needs to be put in operation. It's really difficult when you look at the list that's coming up, and you could be in a position where you award a license, the bar isn't open, and then we have applicants that are ready to go the next month. And so we're being very careful on identifying whether or not these establishments are ready to operate.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So as a commission a few months ago, we started talking about the scarcity of full service restaurant licenses for the first time. And so we've been in that position of having to look at specific criteria for full service restaurant licenses, similar to criteria we've looked at for bar licenses in the past. And as a reminder, those 3 items that we needed to be complete to be considered ready to operate are manager training and a sufficient number of servers hired, ready to operate. The licensee must have the business license in hand, except for where a city requires the commission to grant the license first, and we consider that sort of a swap. And the final inspection needs to be complete. And so additionally, with bar licenses, something that we've worked with staff on is also we need a recommendation from staff that the licensee is fully ready to operate, and there are no questions around the awarding of the license by the commission. And that's an additional, I think, requirement regarding bar licenses that we talked about in our compliance committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Just to give some additional context about the environment that we're operating under and why we are being maybe more constrained than we would otherwise. So with that, Rob, we'd love to hear about these 6 that are meeting the ready to operate criteria.
Great. So we have 18 licenses available. The first one is Pete's Place in Ogden. They currently have the tavern license, which they would surrender if they receive this license. Lakai at Quail Run, Kennedy's Cabaret, Level Crossing, Offset Brewing, and Offset Brewing also has a tavern license that they would surrender. And then Second Summit. Now, these licenses, if issued today, would be effective tomorrow, and they would not have to renew today.
Great. Thank you, Rob. We'll definitely allow for the full commission to ask any questions, but I would like to just turn the time over to Commissioner Orton, who chairs our compliance subcommittee, because I know there was a very robust discussion on considering these applicants.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll just start by saying that we fully support awarding licenses to number 1, Pete's Place, number 2, Lakai, number 4, Level Crossing, number 5, Offset Brewing, and number 6, Second Summit. We'd like to pull Kennedy's Cabaret off just for clarifying purposes, just to have a brief discussion to make sure that we understand that they understand what we are considering appropriate. So with that, I would like to make a motion that we award licenses to number 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
All right, thank you. There's a motion on the table and there's a second. Any discussion, and we should include as part of discussion if commissioners have any questions for these specific applicants or for the staff regarding these applications. Are there any questions or in discussion? Okay. All right, all in favor of approving those applications? Okay, oh, she got it. Oh, I'll be better about saying who did what, Vicky. Sorry about that. All in favor? Are there any opposed? All right. Congratulations. We're excited to get those out into use. And as Rob mentioned, those licenses will activate tomorrow, June 1. Is that right? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Orton, you had mentioned that in subcommittee, there was some discussion and some need for clarifying questions on Kennedy's Cabaret. Is a representative from Kennedy's Cabaret available? Great, thanks. Please come to the podium. Great. Gentlemen, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
I'm Troy Caius, owner of Kennedy's Cabaret.
I'm Steve Spencer. I'm an attorney.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Tui, I know there are some questions that you'd like to ask on behalf of the commission, so I'll turn the time over to you, and then I'll also open up the time to the full commission after that for any additional questions.
Thank you, Chair Tenner. Thank you for being here. So we wanted to dig in a little bit and ask if we could have you explain what a cabaret is.
It is a place where you can sit, eat, and be entertained.
And drink, presumably, because you need a
yeah.
bar license to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a given.
Okay. So in terms of the entertainment, I don't know, when I hear the word cabaret, maybe my mind wanders and thinking about what is that and what is the entertainment that your establishment is providing?
We are going to be an art bar. We want like magicians or musicians. Also, we like photographers, painters, to share ideas and to display their artwork and their talents.
Okay. And in doing our due diligence in researching your establishment, there were some events and pictures and things that popped up that made us question whether or not this should be a sexually oriented business. So would you mind addressing that as well?
Yeah, it's not going to be sexually oriented.
So you will not have any, what the law terms sexually oriented entertainers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And like looking at the issues with Salt Lake City, it appears to me that the cabaret will need to get a dancer license so for anybody who's performing a dance in a public forum, Salt Lake City requires a license from that independently from any SOB license. So even if the performance is not even arguably a sexually oriented business, dancers require a license. That will be part of this business plan.
And sir, maybe while you're addressing the commission, are you aware of the state statute on a sexually oriented business?
Yes.
Okay, so I think the commission would be looking for your assurance that you will not be crossing that line in any way.
Okay. I feel like perhaps we should provide a written statement to that effect. Would that be helpful?
Sure, yeah. I mean, your statement on the record here is pretty much a written statement.
No, I understand that, but I understand, the concern. It's a different league when you're talking about a liquor license plus a sexually oriented business.
Sure.
And that's not what this is going to be. But as far as assurances, as the type of performances, examples of performances, things like that, we could provide a written statement if that'd be helpful.
That would be great. That was sort of the crux of our discussion in the compliance committee. So I appreciate you being here and being willing to take the questions and enlighten us to your business
Sure.
operations.
Chair, I have a question if I may, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
The report shows that there's a police report on selling alcohol without a license and also lewd acts. There was a police report to that effect. You want to talk about that?
I can talk about that. So the simple fact is that the proprietor arranged for, she had a private party at her location, in which she invited guests who were people that were known to her. She didn't sell alcohol. There was no lewd acts. It was simply a private gathering of acquaintances. I am aware of the police report that you're referring to, but quite simply, we haven't had an opportunity to present evidence or cross-examine anybody with regard to the statements in the report. So that's simply not the
Sir, I'll
situation.
just ask, because I know that the department, this is something again in the due diligence of just making sure that, the commission is informed about what is going on. And in their due diligence, I understand that the department has been communicating with law enforcement on this issue. And I just want Director Clayson to tell us about the conclusion of those communications.
Thank you, Chair. This does happen from time to time. In the 11th hour, we might get information that requires additional due diligence, which was the case in this instance. On 5/23, Salt Lake City Police Detective, I won't name that detective, but we do know who he is, communicated to us that he was sorry that it had taken a bit to get back to us. But these cases charges will not be pursued at this time. So Commissioner Parrish and to the rest of the commission, charges are not being pursued. So I hope that information is helpful as you complete your consideration of this applicant.
Thank you. Commissioner Parrish, thank you for asking the question. Gentlemen, thank you for responding. And Director Clayson, thank you for giving us that additional context. Are there any other questions of the commission? I'm looking for a motion.
If there aren't, I was going to
potentially.
say, if there aren't any further questions, I would move that we offer a license to Kennedy's Cabaret.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Orton and seconded by Commissioner Tui. Any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed?
Yes.
All right, I will rule that that motion passes with one opposed. That application is granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, our next agenda item, we have 9 other applicants. Rob, any details we need to know on those?
Well, we have the Gem nightclub, which I don't know if you want to consider today or not. Oh, sorry.
We won't be considering any applications that are not in the ready to operate, but we'd love to hear any details that you need to share with us on these other 9. I do know that there are a couple of folks who have signed up to make comment on this item, and so we will invite them forward, but we'd love to hear from staff if there's anything from the staff report that we need to know on these.
No, all the rest from Neptune to About Time won't be able to open until after the next commission meeting, so.
Thank you, Rob. Are there any questions of Rob before we invite? Okay, all right. So we have signed up to make comment on this agenda item. Sorry, I'm just juggling here. A representative from number 36 LLC. Would you like to make comment? Okay. Again, we won't be taking action on these applications, but we want to give you the right to make comment. I'll remind you that we have a 3-minute public comment period, but please go ahead and state your name and affiliation for the record.
You bet. Thanks for having me. My name is Chris Salisbury. I'm with number 36 LLC, location down in Springville, part of the Strap Tank Brewery, Sidecar Cafe, Senoritas organization. So we have a an establishment that we're looking to open. We're comparing it similar to like think of it as like a Thanksgiving point, but for adults. So we've got a few different concepts down there that we're wanting to open. Number 36 will add 3 additional concepts. So one of them is a comedy club that we're excited to open down there in Utah County. Another one is a speakeasy, similar, I guess comparatively to maybe what Prohibition has done here in Salt Lake County, where there is, the little room that you go into and you got to know the code to get in. We want to introduce something fun in that area down there in Utah County. And then the third concept is an old vaudeville movie theater that we're wanting to open up. And in our application, we did submit a little video that demonstrates our spaces that we have that we want to open as part of number 36. We also submitted some images as well. So the idea of the movie theater is we want to show old black and white films, player piano films, have magicians, comics also perform there as well, and be able to video the comics performing. We feel that we're offering an experience that really can't be found anywhere in Utah County, and in an underserved area as well. So we're looking at it from our standpoint. It's a significant investment. I'm sure this is maybe an argument that's brought to this body maybe other times as well, but we're looking at several $100,000 in equipment, infrastructure in order to build what we're after. The submittal that we did, like the video I mentioned and the application that we submitted did include kind of a snapshot of where we were about a month ago-ish. Progress has been made since then, but we are at a point where we've got to commit significant investment in order to finish. So from our standpoint, it makes it difficult to do that without knowing that there's a license available. That's where we're at.
Great. Thank you for putting that on the record, and we look forward to continuing to track this application. And I just ask that you keep really close with the staff and, on where you are with your progress. So thank you. Any questions for this applicant? Okay, thank you. All right, I see no other public sign up on this item. I don't think there's any. Is there anyone virtually? Okay. All right, and as I mentioned, we are not taking any other action today on that item. Okay, all right, so let's move over to full service restaurant applications. Corey, I understand that you'll be presenting this information to us. I will share similar information as I did with bar licenses on what the quota would give us in fiscal year 24, which begins in July. The current quota would give us 12 new full service restaurant licenses. I poked around. I didn't have a lot of time to really get into the details. I just had the most recent agendas accessible. So this is, for what it's worth, it's a little bit of ad hoc information, but I see that we awarded 12 full service restaurant licenses under our stringent criteria last month and 12 full service restaurant licenses the month before. So the quota would yield 12 for the entire year, and the pace right now of those new full service restaurants that are ready to operate on a monthly basis is in that ballpark range of 12. Again, we are in a situation, and we're grateful to the legislature for putting some money towards a study to look at this issue, and also for providing some temporary relief. Tiffany, I'll make sure it's 30, right? That we got an additional 30 from the legislature. And so I'm sure Corey will fill us in on the number that we have available given that legislative bump. But I just wanted to point out that given the current the current methodology for adding new licenses, full service restaurant licenses, without that bump, we would be at 12 for the entirety of fiscal year 2024. All right, Corey, go ahead and share with us what we need to know, and we will let's deal with license change of ownership in one item, and then ready to operate in the other item.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. There are 41 full-service and 4 summer seasonal licenses available this month. There are 4 license changes of ownership. All 4 are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Are there any questions? I'd be looking to
I
Commissioner
would make
Orton.
I would make a motion that we approve these 4 license changes.
All right, thank you. Is there seconded by Commissioner Tui? Any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? All right, those changes of ownership are approved. So moving on to ready to operate, Corey.
You're currently showing 8. We do need to strike number 8, level crossing, since it has been awarded the bar license. We can move number 2 and all other applicants, Matchstick Bar and Grill. It is no longer conditional, it is ready to operate. Meaning all 8 of those are complete and meet statutory requirements. The only additional information is for number 3, Auto Camp Virgin is conditional due to business license, and that's for the swap. And number 5, PV Jalisco and Cedar City will surrender their hotel license for a full service license.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Orton, I know that the compliance subcommittee dug in on these. Do you have a does the committee, was there a consensus in the committee on a recommendation?
We would recommend that we approve these licenses for number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, strike number 8, and then pick up Matchstick Bar number 2 under all other applicants. And I would make that motion.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Corey.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I've failed to remind you that number 6, Via 313 Pizzeria in Murray has a violation history, and they will need to speak regarding that issue today.
Right, thank you.
So maybe we want to hear from them before we make a motion.
Yeah, sure, that's great. Can we have a representative of Via 313 come forward, please?
Corey, could you remind us what the violation was, or maybe compliance staff?
Yes, that was a sale to a minor. It was adjudicated February 23rd, 2023.
Thank you.
Corey, do you have the documentation on when the actual sale to minor took place? It's okay if not, I know that we were catching up on some of them, so in some cases, they were kind of old. That was why I was asking. Maybe just to clarify, it would have been in the last 3 years if it's showing up on our report. Perfect. November, thank you. Thank you, Natalie. November 10th of 2022. All right, so this one was one that was close. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead and, yeah, state your names and your affiliation for the record, please.
Tatiana Kennedy, and I work on the development team for the ownership.
Erin Stone, counsel for VO 313.
And could I ask that you move closer to the microphone so that the folks online can hear? Thanks.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I would just like to hear about what changes you've made. I know that you would have submitted a RASP as part of your settlement agreement. So I am just curious as to what sorts of changes you've made to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. So we've implemented shiftly huddles where the manager on duty will remind everyone that's starting their shift the date that they need to be checking for. That's the 21 years and older. And we've also posted signs in the bar area showing the legal date. It's updated daily. So we've been making steps to make it more clear to be aware of what dates we're looking for when we're checking IDs.
Right. Do any other commissioners have questions?
All right, thank you.
And with that, I would go ahead and make a motion that we accept or that we approve licenses for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and number 2 under all other applicants.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Orton, seconded by Commissioner Tui. Any discussion, and I should include in the discussion the opportunity to ask staff or any of these applicants questions? All in favor? Are there any opposed? All right, we'll rule that those applications have been approved, and that is as of tomorrow. So they will go into operation tomorrow, June 1st. Corey, anything on other applicants that we need to know? We won't be considering issuance or awarding of any applications for these, but are there any points that we need to know?
No, there's nothing more to add other than they are conditional based off business licensing and maybe other items, final inspections and whatnot. And they have been communicated with, so they understand where they need to be for ready to go.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Corey. All right, and I don't think that there was any public comment on that particular agenda item. So let's go ahead and move on just to general public comment from commissioners and the public. We'll go to the commission first. Is there any comment that the commission would like to put on the record? Thank you. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to share public comment? We've got quite the list here, and so I would just ask that you come forward in the interest of time. Hi, welcome. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Commission. My name is Tristan Morano. I represent Element Sands and Gem Nightclub.
Thank you.
Henry Martinez, Director of Operations for Gem Nightclub.
Owner.
Sienna Young, the compliance officer.
Thank you. And I'll just remind you that we have we need to limit public comment to 3 minutes, just given some timing constraints, but we appreciate you being with us, and please go ahead.
Understood. Thank you. I've appeared before you previously and provided you the police support letter for Gem. I am quite saddened that we were taken off the agenda at the last minute, and like to address that we are ready to go. We've complied tirelessly and worked with the DABS to make all concessions that were required of us. In fact, going further than that, providing a video. I don't know if the commission has had a chance to review it, as well as our package. So I'm hoping that we can address what the issue is, because we haven't heard of what would hold us back right now. Oh, and one other thing, we have employees right now taking alcohol out of the establishment. So just to let you know.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right.
Yeah, that's really just our concern was, at the 11th hour, we got a message saying that there was a public safety issue with the establishment, and there was really not too much information disclosed on what that was. And it was a decision made from the commission. So that's why we feel like we'd come up here and maybe if we get any sort of feedback or anything that we can do on our end to better support, our cause to get the license, because I think it said that we weren't ready to operate, but we are ready to operate. We're ready to go. I think the only holdup was that public safety issue. So if there's any information you can provide for us, we would love to know what it is and be able to handle it as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you very much. I will just go ahead and say, again, public comment period, but I'll take Chair's prerogative. We, in awarding these scarce, very, very scarce licenses, we just need to be completely sure that all due diligence is done. And we lean on, there's a role for the department, there's a role for the commission. We lean on the department to do a lot of that due diligence work and signal to us when those items are ready to, consider for issuance. And perhaps we should maybe change the way we word the agenda where it's ready to operate. So we have some criteria around ready to operate, but really just is it in a place where all the due diligence has been done and it's ready for us to consider for issuance. And so I'll just ask Director Clayson to, maybe not necessarily comment specifically on this specific agenda item, but on how this kind of works with a license being put onto the agenda where it's in a place where we can consider it for issuance.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's an important distinction and something that we can discuss between the department and the commission leadership in terms of the agenda. Obviously, looking at ready to operate, which means they're ready to, open the doors, order the inventory, and be open for business. Ready for consideration is something completely, altogether different. I would say that this does happen. I'm not going to call out specific examples because I think that would be inappropriate or it's not necessary. But when we, yes, an applicant or applicants have been really cooperative. They've provided us tons of information. For us in the 11th hour, we either get a comment, a concern from the public or other entities that could be a public safety concern or some other concern. And so when we become in receipt of that information as a department, we then have to do something with it, right? That's our duty to make sure that we're finishing the processing of the application and doing that due diligence. So when we get any sort of a concern or information that comes to us, nothing may come of it. But again, we have that obligation as a department to run through, work with partners if needed, work with applicants if needed to determine if there really is a concern or if there's not a concern and if that concern can be satisfied. Unfortunately, that came to us in the 11th hour. And when that happens, we just need time to be able to do it, because what we need to do as a department is make sure that when we're passing you off for your consideration, an application, that it is complete, that it meets the statutory requirements, and that as it pertains to anything public safety concerns, public health concerns, that there's nothing outstanding there, right? Because to your point, Commissioner Chair Tenert, licenses are scarce and statute, this is your main responsibility as a commissioner, right? Is you all are awarding these scarce licenses in the hopes that the operators you give them to are safe, are responsible. And again, we just want to make sure that we've done our due diligence as a department on any application before we hand it over to you for consideration. So we're going to work really quickly between now and next month to do that with any applications that are in this predicament.
Yes, and I'd just like to close and say, I do understand the commission's responsibility. However, this was brought up to us 3 days ago. So we had no opportunity to either address the issue or so on. We have approximately 100 employees that are counting on us. I've worked with Rob Hansen and Jeremy to make sure that our application was intact. And in fact, we've been confirmed that it was. So that's the only reason we would like to address the issue prior to, instead of being taken off the agenda. But we understand, and we would like forthwith to have that information to make any corrective action. But as you know, it's been a sticky process and a lot of things can be thrown in the air. And as a former police officer, I couldn't take anyone to jail and not tell them the reason why. I would have to tell them the reason why so they could, at least know what they were facing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for appearing. Right. Is there any other public comment? Right, I would be, sure.
Sorry. I just wanted to address the commission just one time. I've got my 3-minute timer up right now.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And again, I know you already did, but please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Chris Salisbury, again, number 36. I've also got Brandon Henderson here, also representing number 36. So I guess I wanted to just address the commission in terms of delaying any action on businesses that will be ready to operate. And I understand the commission's role in making sure that the businesses are ready to function. We're looking at it from a standpoint where, again, we've got significant financial impact on our side, and it makes it very difficult for us to move forward, not knowing that there's going to be a license available. And so I guess we're looking for maybe some sort of decision or movement on what we've got. I know that we've worked really closely with Jeff Colvin, Jeremy as well, Alexis. We've given tours to what we've got going on down there. We've got a proven track record with other establishments that we have where we have licenses. So this isn't, we're not an organization this isn't our first time. We've done it before. We're confident we can make this happen. We've built structures in another related business. We've built homes in as little as 14 days. So in terms of the construction standpoint, that's not the concern. The concern is, do we spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars, hire the employees, get the structure in place well before the license is even granted?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Brandon Henderson. I am the booker and will be the operator of the Boxcar Comedy Club. And so I thought maybe what would be helpful in terms of context for you and how this would operate. There are some talent that we will work with and are speaking with now and have actually signed deals with that are, for example, cast members of Saturday Night Live or have been on The Office, or where we're dealing with the biggest agencies in Hollywood. And the way we're able to actually make money with those kinds of deals is by giving what's called a door deal to a comedian. What that means is they might ask for 90% of the tickets, and we will give that to them because we have the ability to make money off of food and beverages. If we don't have that ability, I think it's very, very difficult to book talent. And so, and we're booking some of these people into the new year, right? Some of these people, of course, are very high in demand. And so it's January, February, March that they're doing deals for now. And if we don't have confidence that we can do that deal today, we will miss out significantly on being able to bring the kind of talent that we want to bring to this space. We are trying to provide the kind of entertainment and sort of comedy experience that you get in LA and New York at this club. I've been in this business for well over a decade and have worked with many people that you've all heard of. And I want to make sure that I can provide to them as well, the kind of deal that they require, but we just do need time to make sure that those deals happen.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for putting all of that context onto the record. I won't speak for my colleagues, but I assume that many of them share my opinion on this, where completely sympathize with you and just understand the issue of Utah business making a decision about investment and carrying costs and putting all this money into your business and not having the certainty of a license. So just thank you for giving us that context, putting that context onto the record. And I will just, continue to state that the decisions that we're making right now and the approach that we're taking is based on scarcity. So I mentioned that we have 6 licenses becoming available in 2024. Again, we have these additional ones, so we'll have a little bit of flexibility, but we're just not in a position in the way that the statute is currently written, where if we were to grant a license conditionally, it's out for 18 months. And then, there might be bars that are ready to go, and then you've got one sitting out not operational. And so it's just where we are right now. We'll consider to take this type of information under advisement, but I just want you to know that we hear you and we appreciate you putting that on the record. And we will look forward to continuing to see you and hopefully seeing you really ready to operate within the time that we have licenses. So thank you.
Chair, if I could just add, I want you to understand that you said you've been doing this for a while, you have other establishments. I want to make it clear that we are in a license scarcity situation, not because we determine when we get a license, your legislature does. So what you've put on the record today is fantastic. I would encourage you to go and share that with your legislators and legislative leadership and let them know what it's like to be a Utah business waiting for a license.
Thank you.
Right.
Chair Tenor and
Yes.
commissioners,
Yes.
I would just like to say for the record that when we approve the full service restaurants, that they are able to operate today versus waiting till tomorrow.
Thank you for putting that on the record. Okay. So those applications were approved. Hopefully you've taken note. Thank you, Corey. All right. I would be looking for a final motion before noon. I would point out.
So moved.
All right.
There's a second.
Okay, no discussion. All in favor? All right. Thank you, commissioners. And thank you to the public who've attended.